What's up, guys? This is Ty Zen, and with me today,
Here you go.
I have the Honorable Grandmaster, legendary LeonFu.com, the great oracle of cryptocurrency, and we're broadcasting here from Atlanta, Georgia, one of the biggest cities in the southeast of the United States of America. And in this Module 3, we want to talk about the overview of the top privacy coins real quick. In module number 2, about the Privacy Coins 101, we talked about the privacy coin bucket and the 3 buckets that are inside, the 3 sub-buckets are inside the privacy coin bucket. And in this video, we're going to talk about the overview of the top privacy coins and what you should pay attention to and what the differences are between them. If you'll notice, we took out one of the modules. It was 6 before, and now we combined it to 5 because it was better to combine them, so it made more sense and flowed easier. So let's go ahead and get started. Real quick, our sponsorship disclaimer here. This video has been sponsored by a privacy coin project to provide an independent third-party review of the major privacy coin projects currently active to educate the public about the importance of financial privacy. So the origin of most privacy coins come from 2 categories or 2 places. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So, all of the privacy projects fall in one of these 2 categories at the moment. Of course, all can change. They either start off with a Bitcoin code base and then they add privacy features to that code base, and that's what we mean when, and that we, in computers terms, we call that a fork, or you take the existing code base and you start like a new branch. And then they started adding different privacy features. That when we explained the last of the buckets, the different technologies, that's what they're doing.
So they take the Bitcoin software and then they add
Build
one
on
of the
top of it, yes.
add one of the 3 technologies that we discussed in the previous video.
Yes, in the previous videos,
Okay.
yes. But there's a very notable project that came out a few years ago. It's called CryptoNote. And so what they do is CryptoNote actually is a research project and a white paper. And they,
Let's go to it.
Yes, let's go to it. Okay.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Let's start
yes.
with the Bitcoin first.
All right, sure. So Bitcoin, there's a bunch of these privacy projects that started out with the Coinbase, the Bitcoin software code base. And they're Zcoin, Dash, Shadowcash, Zcash, and then there's also multiple forks of Zcash, and one of them is like Zcash is an example of them. So what's the advantage if you start with the Bitcoin code base is because you're very similar to Bitcoins, it's easy for everyone to adopt your coin because it's very similar to Bitcoin, which there's a huge code base already there. That means exchanges can list you very easily, mining pools, wallet makers can integrate you, and it's easy to support because Bitcoin is so widely understood.
And in case you're new to cryptocurrencies, mining pools are the computers and the people who volunteer their computers to process all the transactions in the network and secure the network.
Yeah.
So what are some of the disadvantages?
The disadvantages, like it's hard to know if the developers have a deep understanding of the cryptography, of the math, of the code even, if they haven't built it. If they just simply took someone else's code and are just hacking it to add these privacy features, it's not very clear if they actually know what they're doing. And that creates technical risks, right? There's no guarantee because they don't have a deep understanding of the math and the cryptography behind it, and that creates risk to the project as an investment because somebody might just come along and hack the whole thing, and so that's a big disadvantage.
Okay, so so this would be analogous to if someone takes the Bitcoin software and they put a security feature on top of it. That would be like when you go to the automotive dealerships and like the trucking companies, they would go and buy the chassis from like Ford Motor Company or from Ram.
A better analogy, I think, would be like if you bought a sports car and you rip the engine out and drop the new engine in, right?
Okay.
And now to let's say increase the horsepower, but you don't know if they actually got the suspension and all the other things correct
to match
what this new engine does, right?
Now you want to talk about because there are people in the cryptocurrency world that believe that you should start from scratch, like Charles Hoskinson.
Yeah, he was arguing that
former founder of Ethereum.
Yeah, he's was arguing that unless you've rebuilt the whole thing, basically, if we're using cars as an analogy, it would be the equivalent of let's strip the whole car down to its component parts and put it all back together again. Yeah. And if you can do that, you can prove to everyone you actually know how this thing works, right?
And you can replicate each component.
You can replicate each component because you basically took it all apart and put it all back together. And that's what he's doing with Ethereum Classic. He's working on a client he hired a bunch of developers to do exactly that.
To take apart the client and then put it back
and
together.
Rebuilt a new client from their understanding, right? Take apart the existing code base and understand it, and then rebuild an Ethereum client from scratch in a brand new language. In a different language even.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And he feels that when you do something like that, you're able to prove to everyone.
Yeah, it gives your team credibility.
Okay.
That you have the technical know-how because you rebuilt the entire thing
from scratch.
From scratch.
Now, what's your personal opinion? You're a software developer. What's your personal opinion?
Well, I can see. I agree. I agree with his point. As a software engineer, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
I don't know if I completely agree if that's necessary from an investment standard. Remember, we're investors.
We're investors.
Here,
we're not engineers.
We're not engineers because I would argue like something like Dogecoin or Dogecoin built themselves up to a $20 million market cap from nothing just based on
copying Bitcoin.
Just copying Bitcoin nothing else. I mean, you would have made a bunch of money if you were one of the early investors in Bitcoin.
And also, I meant to say Charles Hoskinson is one of the former co-founders of Ethereum, not the founder.
Yeah, he's a former co-founder. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So. And then talk about CryptoNote and its philosophy here.
Yeah, so CryptoNote saw the privacy problems Bitcoin had that we had covered in the last video. So it was a research project set out to try to fix those problems, to try to make the currency fungible, which we defined in the last video. And that means making
sure that the money in my pocket
is the same as the money in your pocket. And they're doing that by removing the transaction history behind each coin.
Okay. Now talk about the open source.
It's open source means how it works is a white paper that you can download for free off their website, and so they also created a reference implementation that you can go if you're a software engineer you can go and read it to see if it actually does what they say it does.
So when we say that it's open source and it can be inspected by others for flaws, why is that important?
Well, it basically it's a security guarantee that anyone who understands technology can go validate that what you're saying is true. And it's also important because, especially for security and privacy projects, is to
have as many eyes looking at it as possible.
And it's also to make sure that you are actually doing what you say you're doing.
Okay, so can you give the audience an example of what's a closed source software?
Closed source software is anything you buy, any software you'd buy from like Microsoft, Windows, anything from Apple. It's generally closed source. It's proprietary, which means how it works. They don't tell you.
So only the company engineers.
Only the company engineers can look at it. But open source means it's on GitHub, which is a website that for software developers that they can go and download. Like you can go download, if you go on the Bitcoin website, you can go download the entire source code and look at it for yourself.
CryptoNote has financial privacy. It's unlinkable and untraceable transactions. So that means that you cannot go back and see where the transactions came from or where it's going, right? Now, fair proof of work, right? It can be mined on an average PC. That means that CryptoNote, the technology can be done on any regular PC. You don't have to have a whole mining company or a mining pool.
ASICs, yeah.
So and it's adaptive to changing market conditions, which is important. As markets change, you can adjust the parameters of the software.
Yes.
Right. So no double spending means that you don't. Once you send the tokens to another a recipient, you cannot copy and paste and send it again to someone else and cheat the system. Right now, you said that CryptoNote coin.
It's a reference.
It's a reference implementation.
It means
it's not a coin.
It's the word in the community is called a test net, right? It's basically it's reset every few months to make sure people don't start trading this thing.
Yeah.
It's meant it's meant as a reference, as a guide to as a demonstration, a proof of concept.
It's like a prototype, so people can come and try it out and test it.
Try it out and test it. Yeah.
All right. So now, building a cryptocurrency from scratch, right? Talk about the advantages and disadvantages.
So if you do that, if your team builds something from scratch, you understand it because you built it yourself. So it proves that at least you understand it at the level that you've done.
Okay, so Monero is an example of a privacy coin.
Yes. Monero is an example of a privacy node based on the CryptoNote. What happens is it's a brand new code base.
Okay.
It is not from Bitcoin's code base at all.
Okay, talk about some of the disadvantages.
So disadvantages, which there's reasons people don't do this, teams don't do this, is you're not compatible with any of the existing infrastructure, mainly for Bitcoin, because there's massive. Remember, Bitcoin is 80 to 90% of the entire value of
the cryptocurrency world, period.
At this moment, right?
Yeah.
So there's a huge amount of infrastructure. There's a huge amount of exchanges, mining pools, wallet services. So if you have your own code base, it's very difficult for those services to adopt you, to integrate your project, your coin. So one of the reasons is Monero. We're using Monero as an example. Jax and Exodus are two very popular wallets, and they have had trouble integrating Monero.
Difficult to integrate?
Yeah. In fact, Jax put it out a tweet, I remember a few months ago, is they were just spending too much time on it and they had to put it on hold. Okay. The guys at Exodus also mentioned that it's they want to integrate it because it's so popular, but they're having a really hard time. And to this day, after 2 years, Monero's been out, I think 2 years now.
Yeah.
There are still no third-party wallets.
Okay.
Even to this day. Yes.
And you said that when they put out a web wallet, it even got hacked or something like that?
Well,
or
people have reported because they did put out a web wallet, and because it's a web wallet, it has all the vulnerabilities of any web wallet.
Yeah.
And there have been reports on the forums about people losing their Moneros.
Okay.
So it's a lot more work for exchanges to support. And like we mentioned here, there's a huge code base of Bitcoin that would be easily adaptable for the coins that are based on Bitcoin's code base.
Okay. So let's talk about, I'm going to talk real quick about the team members of the CryptoNote. They have Johannes Meyer. He's the chief cryptographer. Maurice Plank, the cryptographer. You don't have to memorize all these people or what their roles are, right? But what's important here is that CryptoNote, we put a question mark here because there's not a lot of information on there. Like, we try to research and find them, and it's not easily found. So because it's a privacy coin project, these people want to remain private. Right?
Yes.
And I'm not even sure if those are their real names, okay? So, I mean, it was hard to find them, right? Now, a few things that you guys want to know about CryptoNote is that they have a foundation. It was announced on July 14, 2014. Their mission and their philosophy is to unite and facilitate the community, to standardize and develop CryptoNote technology, and to promote the CryptoNote as the next generation crypto platform. And they say that there's more information coming soon about the foundation. I put a question mark here because it's not very clear. I try to look for more information, but none of the links work to any of the names of the people that's on the board or any of it. And then I put a red arrow there because in the light colored text right there, it says that will be announced in late 2015, and it's already 2017, 2 years later, and we still haven't heard much from the foundation. Okay, so just be aware of that. Now, there's components of CryptoNote as well. There's other components. There's the CryptoNote technology that we just discussed. And there's a CryptoNote forum that you can go in there. There's not a lot of activity there. And then what's interesting is that they have the CryptoNote starter, right, which allows you to create your own cryptocurrency in 10 minutes. Now, this is basically how the new cryptocurrencies are created.
Many of them, yes.
Yeah, many of them, right? Let's take a look at some. The first CryptoNote privacy coin was actually called Bytecoin. And CryptoNote was originally just a white paper, you said?
Yes, yeah.
And then the first CryptoNote-based currency was released in July 2012, and it's called Bytecoin, and it's created in close cooperation with the CryptoNote team.
Cool.
So Bytecoin was the first and original implementation or creation of the CryptoNote white paper. Okay. Now, let's talk about the CryptoNote family tree, right? It starts here. the first coin that was cryptocurrency that was created was called Bytecoin, and from here it forked out into all these other ones.
Yeah, dozens of them.
Some up here, these down here. For example, like Dash Coin, Bullberry, Darknet Coin, Digital Note, Monero, Pebble Coin, Phantom Coin, right? And then they got a bunch of other minor ones called Dr. Byte, Infinium. I don't even want to know all the names of them, okay? Now, the reason why we're not going to talk about over 95% of these is because most of them are dead.
Yeah.
Okay, these died out. Their
No
software
yeah.
has no development, and for a privacy coin, security is utmost important. And we're not going to talk about any softwares or any privacy coins that have not had their software updated in the last year or so, right?
Yeah.
And some of these haven't been updated in a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years. So that's not very safe. We would never recommend any of those to you guys. And these are so small, it's not even worth, it's worth a mention, and that's it. It's not even worth researching, okay? But there are two that did survive from all this family tree, and that's Bullberry and Monero. And we're going to focus on Monero most, okay? Now, before we go in and focus on Monero and some of the other major privacy coins, talk about the difference between a feature versus a platform.
Yeah. So a feature is a coin or a project that's based around doing one or two or a few things very, very well. And a Bitcoin, of course, is the biggest and most valuable cryptocurrency. Like we've mentioned, it's between 80 and 90% of the entire value of this space. But what happens is, and Monero is basically like Bitcoin. It's as of right now, it does one thing very well. It's focused on doing privacy extremely well. So what happens to it relies on projects like, there are a few projects that are built on top of Bitcoin to extend what Bitcoin is able to do, right? Things like Counterparty, Omni, Rootstock are a few of them, and there's dozens of projects right now. I think there's over 10,000 repositories on GitHub with people trying to build various things using Bitcoin as a base. Okay. Right.
So GitHub is for the audience here. GitHub, for people that are not software people, that's where all the software.
It's a code repository.
Yeah, it's like a library.
Yeah. Software engineers, developers, that's where they write code.
That's where they save it.
That's where they save it.
And then even you have
I have a GitHub. Almost every software engineer will have a GitHub account.
Okay. So anyone can come there and download it?
Yes, anyone can download it.
Because it's a safe place for it to be stored.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then, so you're saying that there's over 10,000 software projects going on GitHub, where it's being built on top of just Bitcoin alone.
Bitcoin, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now talk about what's a platform-based.
So a platform-based project are things where they are trying to create a tool set so that you can build within the coin or within the project, right? Not above it, like Bitcoin, but within it. Inside of it, right?
Okay.
And the biggest one right now, which is the second most valuable cryptocurrency after Bitcoin, it's at about $2 billion. Remember we said Bitcoin was 80 to 90%? Yeah. Well, the other 10% is Ethereum.
Okay.
And Ethereum supports smart contracts, and it allows people to build within the Ethereum ecosystem. It's like building inside the box or build on top of the box, right? Okay. And there's a few others that are much smaller, like Stratus and Lisk, and I'm sure we have others. But right now, Ethereum is by far the 10 times, 100 times bigger than any of those.
Okay. Yeah. So where should you focus your attention now, right? Because we've talked a lot about privacy coins, and the question that investors always ask us is where should they put their attention on? So we will only focus on the leading privacy coins. Sometimes we call it the major privacy coins versus the minor privacy coins. The reason why we focus on the major ones or the leading ones are there are too many minor privacy coins with insignificant features, and they don't have a large enough community behind them yet. So the major privacy coins are the ones that include like Dash, Monero, Zcash, and Shadow Cash or the Shadow Project, right? Yes. Just a quick reminder, before we dive into Dash right here, I just want to show everyone Dash's performance in 2016. It made over 500% profit and made 5 times your money, right? So that's in the dark arrow. In the light arrow with the light text, it made over close to 2,000% profit or 20 times your money in 15 months. Yeah, and it's gone up even higher in 2017. All right. So talk about some of the Dash facts.
Sure.
Here.
So
let's give the audience
let's
some
get
stats.
some background here. So the project was started in January 2014. The supply is going to be 22 million coins. Currently, there's about 7 million dashes circulating. And I believe the block rewards are 3.6 coins every 2.5 minutes. And it's decreasing 7% per year. And right now, it's currently trading at around $70 with a $500 million in market value at the moment. So some unique things they have is they have some very interesting governance features. They have a built-in treasury where some of the mining rewards goes to the development team to help fund the development. So what's unique about this is as the price goes up in Dash, the development community will have more and more funds to help hire more, do whatever they're going to do.
And funding is one of the most important features or aspects that you need to consider when you invest in any cryptocurrency, not just privacy coins, but any cryptocurrency.
And I would mention Bitcoin had a funding problem because all the developers of Bitcoins weren't getting paid.
Until
Blockstream came in and like a VC backed them. So a lot of the Bitcoin developers, unless they owned a lot of Bitcoins, they were volunteers.
So this is one of the unique things about Dash is because they have a built-in funding system where they don't have to go out and beg for money or ask for sponsorships or ask for money. But that's also a thing that other people complain about too. So it's not always. There's people that favor it and there's people that do not favor it. Obviously, we favor it because we believe that without funding, you can't grow.
That's right. We need
every money project has to come from somewhere.
Working for free, people can only do that for so long.
Until their stomach starts getting hungry and starts growling, and then you need food.
You need food.
Okay. So that was some of the problems that NXT had was that it was a very good ideological project, but there was no funding.
There's no funding. Yes.
So nobody wants to run over there and work on it.
Yeah. That's right.
So let's talk about the team makeup, right? Started by Evan Duffield, right here.
That's this guy,
right? And his background, experience of each player,
Yeah, it's right here on the website.
Right here. You go read about it.
You're gonna read about
and then you talked about you went to the Miami Bitcoin conference.
And I watched Ryan Taylor, which we'll have a photo of him later. He spoke there. He's the director of finance, and he says Dash right now, they started out as a privacy project, but now they're focused on mass adoption.
Right there.
Yeah, mass adoption. And they're going to do that with superior user experiences, consumer services such as debit cards and ATMs, and a lot of community building.
Okay. Yeah. It has widespread support.
So remember, Dash was one of the Bitcoin-based coins. It was built on top of Bitcoin or a fork of Bitcoin. And so therefore, there's plenty of wallets, mobile, on your phone, on the web, on the desktop, etc. There's even a lot, and this is unusual, not very few coins actually have support from hardware wallets, such as Trezor, KeepKey, Ledger, Nano, and we advocate if you have any significant amount of cryptocurrencies, you try to store as much as you can on one of these devices on a hardware wallet.
Yeah, especially if you have more than 1 month's worth of income, you definitely need to keep it on one of the hardware wallets. All right, do not keep it on your phone or your laptop.
So right now it's at number 3 after Bitcoin and Ethereum, and recently, I would say this year, it's blown past Litecoin, Ripple, and Monero.
In market cap.
And market value. It's just like blew right past them.
And it has excellent liquidity. There's millions of dollars of traded
millions of dollars, so that you have no problems getting in or getting out at this moment. So it's a meteoric rise. It started at less than a year ago at $10. As of now, it's 70, and it's doing its moonshot.
Right. So talk about the origins of Dash, right?
Yeah, so it was started in 2015, and it was the idea. It was one of the first privacy projects. So remember, we talked about mixing was the first method that came along because it was simple and obvious to do. Dash tried to build mixing as a service that was within the currency itself, rather than having to go to a third-party mixer. It originally was known as X11 coins because the proof of work, the algorithm miners used 11 different algorithms instead of just SHA-256. And this was to provide ASIC resistance because they didn't want to concentrate the mining power into these huge pools. That was their attempt, I believe. So that's the history.
So basically, what they're doing is they're using the X coin, these 11 algorithms, so that an individual can process and secure the network and not just companies only. Next, we want to talk about the rebranding of Dash. Dash was rebranded less than 2 months later.
As Darkcoin. We remember it started out as X11, and then in a couple months they said, hey, this is not really a good name, because they were still privacy focused at the time.
Yeah.
So they they decided to focus the project. This reflected their focus on privacy.
Okay.
And
which
that
was
in
not
February.
a good idea. 'Cause the name Darkcoin just has a very negative and dark connotation to it, which you don't want.
Yes.
Right. So you said they wanted to focus on
yeah,
privacy.
Yeah, they wanted to focus on privacy. And that was their logo. This was the original their symbol, their emblem as Darkcoin.
Darkcoin.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in 2015 of March, they decided they were not going to focus solely on privacy. So they rebranded again.
Yeah.
And this time as Dash, and that the name change took effect in March of 2015. They wanted to focus on mass adoption. They wanted to get everybody to use cryptocurrencies, not just nerds and geeks or anarchists and libertarians.
Dark web to buy drugs and illegal
dark
stuff.
webs and illegal stuff. That's why they pivoted away from just solely focusing on privacy to trying to address some of the issues in Bitcoin that's preventing Bitcoin from being used by everyone.
Okay. So talk about the market adaptation here, right?
So yeah, they still have privacy. There's still the privacy feature that was originally there was called Dark Send.
Yeah.
That was also rebranded. Now it's called Private Send.
Okay. So you said that you saw Ryan Taylor's talk here at the Miami Bitcoin conference.
Yes.
Just
and this is on YouTube. Ago. I was there. That's about back in January of 2017, I believe that, if I have my dates correct. So yeah, I've watched him speak. He was the last speaker of that conference, and I did what I felt was an excellent speech, talk about why Bitcoin hasn't gotten mass adoption and what Dash was going to do to solve those problems. And it's about 20 minutes. You can find it on YouTube if you just search there. Okay. So now it's focused on getting everyone. Mass adoption is their primary focus.
Okay. So when we talk about mass adoption, right, they're talking about getting many consumer-focused features such as ATMs, instant payments, user interface designs, and debit cards. Yeah. But you said that their main thing that he stressed the most was getting grandma can use cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, right? That's the thing in theirs.
Okay. So let's jump into Monero. Yeah. Right. Sure. Let's talk about Monero in 2016. It had over 3,000% gains, right, in the first 9 months. That's 30 times your money.
The biggest winner.
Yeah. That is definitely life-changing. When you guys hear us talk about life-changing money, you put $1,000 in this and it turns into $30,000 in 9 months. That's life-changing.
Or 10,000 to 300,000. Yeah.
Yeah. That can be a down payment for your house. That can buy you a house. That can pay for your college. That can do a lot of things. Pay for your wedding. That's definitely life-changing. And in the light arrow, in the light text here, it went up 37 times if you just wait another 4 months. Sure. Right? Definitely life-changing profits are available in the privacy coin sector, guys. Yeah. Right? So let's talk about some of the Monero facts.
Yeah, sure. So the project was started a couple years after, 1 or 2 years after the Bytecoin coin came out in April of 2014. There's expected to be 18 million coins. Right now there's 14 million circulating. There's 8 coins with 2-minute blocks, and reducing, eventually that's going to go down over time to just 0.3 Moneros every 2 minutes.
And what that means is that there's 8 coins, 8 Monero coins are minted.
Yeah, minted every 2 minutes.
Every 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's $15. We're over 200 million market cap. And it is the leading, as of now, the leading privacy coin bucket as measured by market cap that's solely focused on privacy. Now Dash does, at this time of this video, Dash is bigger, but they're no longer focused solely on privacy. Yeah. So it's a community-funded project, as from my understanding, that it was a bunch of guys that got together and decided to, because there were some issues with the way Bytecoin was distributed, and they wanted to start a new project, a new currency that they believed was more fair.
All right. So talk about the team makeup.
Yeah. So there's this character called Fluffy Pony. That's his handle. He goes by that online on his Twitter and on social media. His real name is Ricardo Spagni. I hope I'm saying that right. Many of the once again, because these are privacy projects, many of the developers seem to wish to remain anonymous. So there are many contributors. We don't know the identities of all of them, but you can, for those that want to reveal themselves, you can go to that website to find out who they are. Right now, they're a technology focused. They're really focused on trying to do privacy better. They're one of these projects that's focused on a feature
and not a platform. So they just want to be the best.
They want to be the best at what they do, right?
Okay.
And so that seems to be what they have. The team and the community is focused on.
Now, you and I both know that no matter how good your software is, it doesn't grow and it doesn't make money unless there's people using it.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Because we're investors, so we want to invest in softwares that people are actually going to use. So what's their strategy to gain market adoption?
I mean, we can make money as they develop their technology and as they perfect their technology. We will make money. Like in the short term, you will make money. But once you get to a certain point, you need to get users. Those vertical rises, the chart is because of adoption, because somebody. A group of people decided they were going to, en masse, like a numerous group of people decided, technology can only get you so far.
Okay.
But the reason Monero exploded is because they actually did get adoption. They got adoption from the dark markets. Dark
markets are places on the internet where they sell illegal stuff such as drugs,
guns,
things like that.
Yeah, things like that. So Alpha Bay is right now, I believe, the leading dark market, and Monero is accepted as payment on that market. And that is now we don't advocate any illegal activities in your country, but there are people that do that, and Monero, for one reason, we might get into that later, but that's the reason for the rise here.
Okay.
So CryptoNote was really groundbreaking. It was really a way to address using ring signatures, one of the technologies we described, to make unlinkable payments. So if I pay you and you pay someone else, no one can follow that coin through the blockchain as they can with Bitcoin. So it was based on the white paper in 2012. And the reference implementation was for educational purposes. You can go on their website and take a look at it. And it was the first crypto, the actual crypto meant to be distributed to use this reference implementation for ring signatures.
And that's when
Monero came out a few years later, building on top of the code base of Bytecoin.
Okay, so now talk about the Monero's a fork, right?
Yes.
Or a clone of Bytecoin.
Yes.
It is officially started in April 2012.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a good explanation of ring signatures.
Yes. So they exploded in price in 2016 when the dark market Oasis came out and started accepting it as payment, just because now, now this wasn't just a currency that privacy or cryptographers or academia was just playing around with.
That's being used to purchase stuff.
People were using it to actually buy stuff, and in this case, buying drugs on these dark marketplaces. And there's at the same big conference in Miami, I ran into a big investor in Monero, and he told me, I haven't.
And this was a hedge fund manager.
This was a hedge fund manager. It's just from exactly. He was a hedge fund manager, and he told me that 10% of all the drugs being purchased on these dark markets was using Monero as a currency.
Now, you want to talk about the exit scam?
Yeah. So it's a real saying where the owners of the owners of Oasis, I believe it was, received a lot of Moneros. Actually, bought it or was given a large sum of Moneros. And then they announced that they were going to accept it as payment on their markets. That caused it. That was the first rise that you saw in that chart.
So let's go back to it real quick.
That's when this happened. Once this dark market picked it up, that's when you had this explosion to $13 here, past $13, up to like $15. But then the owners of Oasis decided they were just going to take the money and run.
Yeah. So they basically were offered a bunch of Monero tokens from the Monero team, right? And then they also, and once they loaded that up, they announced that they were going to accept it on their dark market. So they were willing to accept it. So people started rushing in to buy it, so they can buy the token so that they can use it to buy the illegal stuff on the dark market.
Yeah, so you can see it started out at 50 cents, right? So as news got out, they were, rumors started getting out that, a darknet was going to pick it up. Then the news came out that they actually did. Then it went crazy.
Now, everything would have been okay, but what happened was the owners of the dark market, they sold all their tokens into the rally here, and then they just shut down their website and just left. And everybody that deposited funds into their dark market, right, took off. So this would be the equivalent of saying, for example, like eBay or Amazon,
just taking
saying that
money and
taking everybody's money and just shutting down their business and then.
Well, they had made so much money in this run that they decided, I guess they were. I don't know what their motivations are. But
and what's interesting is that this was supposed to die out when it crashed like this.
Yeah, so this was the crash that happened after that exit scam, and that should have been the end of Monero. I mean, that really.
But it didn't.
Like I said, privacy is beyond just buying drugs. We covered that in the first video. That the news, when this caused everyone to start looking at this. Yeah. And despite the exit scam, people realize that, hey, this is more valuable
as privacy
than just using it to buy drugs. Yeah. Right. People thought that, oh, it's valuable because you can use it to buy drugs. Well, you can't use it to buy drugs anymore. Yeah. And they crashed, right?
And that should have been dead.
And that should have been dead. That should have been the end of it. But they realized that, hey, it's not just buying drugs.
It's the privacy feature in it is what encouraged people to still use it. And that's the reason why it went back up.
Yeah, and it's even higher now.
Yeah. Just this is an important note to make, right? The distinction to make. The darknet businesses that announced that they were accepting Monero as a currency in their business and their market, right? The business was a scam, but the technology behind Monero is not a scam. Yes. So just be aware of that, guys. Right? Just because someone rips off their customers for their currency does not mean that currency is bad or it's a scam. Okay, so we just want to make that very clear that Monero, the currency, the cryptocurrency, is not a scam. Their technology is doing what they claim for it to do. It's just the business that decided to accept it ran off with everyone's money.
You know what? If we realized the value of privacy, we would have bought, because we understood that, okay, well, down here when I was saying, hey, Monero, you can buy drugs with Monero, and then people said, well, you can't anymore. Yeah. Why should it should go right back to where it was, right? Yeah.
Well, it went back up.
It actually went back up
because people realized
that privacy, it's not just about buying drugs. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if some people start buying drugs with it, then yeah, it's now a lot more valuable. But once they couldn't buy drugs with it because of the exit scam, they said, hey, you know what? It's still valuable. Yeah. Because of
and I just want to say this, guys, is that there are people, like for example, we live in the United States, right? But the same pharmaceutical drugs that are being sold here in the U.S., they're cheaper in another country. The same drugs that may be sold for $30 a pill here. Like I remember when I first had, I had to take some heart medication, and for example, like Lipitor, which is the #1 selling pharmaceutical drug in the world at the time before they had a generic, they were selling it for close to $30 a pill. So in order to take a 30-day supply of it, that cost $300 in US dollars, right? So at the same time, there were countries out there that were selling it much cheaper, like in Mexico and Canada and other countries. The problem is you can't buy it with the US dollars. But if you go into the darknet markets and you find a reputable source that supplies it, you can actually buy it with Bitcoin, with Monero, with Dash, or with some of the other coins, and then save you some money, as long as it was from a reputable source. All right, so.
All right, so
let's go back to this.
Where were we?
All right, so the Oasis right here,
crash,
right? So talk about the fairness in Monero, right?
So the reason Monero was started, like the question the audience might have is, well, why didn't everyone just use Bytecoin, right? Yeah. That was the first one. There was a lot of, in the crypto community, they were not happy. There was some controversy, and this is all documented on the forums as to the issues where it was said that most of the coins were mined by a small group of people, and many people were not happy with the initial distribution. They didn't feel it was fair.
Yeah.
Because they had said, hey, perhaps maybe there were accusations saying the miners mined a bunch of coins before releasing it to the public, so it didn't give the community a chance to mine those coins.
So
right?
they weren't fair.
So it wasn't fair, right? And I don't want to judge whether or not it was fair. You guys can, I provided a link here that you guys can go read it and follow the thread, and you can judge whether or not it's fair. But regardless of whether or not it was fair, Monero is blown by Bytecoin and is now the leading CryptoNote-based.
Yeah, nobody even knows what Bytecoin is anymore until we did this research and found out about it.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
So, so there goes just a reminder, you know, that it's a fork of Bytecoin.
50 cents down here, guys, and you know.
Next, we want to talk about Zcash, and here's a Zcash price chart from 2016. If you look real closely, it shows that it's at 5 Bitcoins, and it dropped all the way down to a third of a Bitcoin here. But if you go back to the history previous to that and look at the rest of it, right, it looks like this. At one point, it was traded at 3,200 Bitcoins per Zcash token. And what you saw earlier at 5 Bitcoins is way down here, and you can't even see it, right? So explain this phenomenon. Why is this crazy chart like this?
So Zcash was very unusual because it started trading from day one when it's released. And most coins are not like that. Most coins, they launch, and the exchanges don't pick up the coin until there's a big community and enough people want to trade it. And then it's very rare that a coin trades on a major exchange on the minute it's released, right? And so that's kind of like why we see this activity. So Zcash was actually started when the network launched. They did something called a slow start, which means they didn't want the early miners, the miners that could get a jump on the network right away.
You mean that they already have hundreds of computers
they
ready?
already have hundreds of computers ready to go on block 0, right? Getting all the coins, right?
Okay.
So what they did, their strategy was to do what they call a slow start, right? Where a very, very, very small amount of Zcash was mined per block for the first, say, month. Right.
So a very, very tiny amount was minted.
Yes, in the first month or so.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot exactly how many blocks, but and the idea was that this would give all the miners time to set up their hardware, to make sure all their setup was correct and the software was correct, and they could start mining. Without having all of the coins go to one miner that was ready. Right?
Okay, so it makes it a fair distribution.
A more fair distribution. That was the goal. They didn't want a large entity controlling a large amount of the outstanding Zcash, right? And then a month later, after this slow start period is over, it would start at 50 Zcash or 50 Zcashes every 10 minutes, right? So that's the reason that the price was that high, is because there was almost no supply.
So only a fraction, a tiny
very small
fraction was traded at that amount.
Yeah, there's not that many Bitcoins that were traded at that amount. But even if a fraction of a Bitcoin is traded at that price, then you get these huge spikes, right?
So the exchange is going to mark that on the price chart.
Going to mark that on a price chart, but very, very few things were. Maybe somebody was buying it just for fun or something like that.
Because we were sitting there watching it as it happened live when it got released, and there's no way somebody's going to pay $2,000 or $3,000 for one Zcash.
Not $1,000. Bitcoins, right?
2,000 or 3,000 Bitcoins valued at $1,000 each.
$1,000 for one Zcash. No, that's no one actually did that.
So let's jump to some Zcash facts here.
So the project started out as a research, as a project in some universities, mainly Johns Hopkins, MIT, and a few others. So it was an academic project to begin with. It was a science project that was started at a university. The network, as we said, was launched in October 2016. It is based on Bitcoin, and so therefore they're issuing the same amount of coins as Bitcoin. Is going to have the same issuance rate as Bitcoin. Currently, as of this, there's 800,000 coins at the moment that's in circulation. And as I said, the schedule is the number of coins is going to match Bitcoin.
Okay.
It's currently trading at $38, which with about 800,000, it's $35 million, give or take. That's the current market value.
Okay. So the funding, let's talk about the funding availability, because it's important that if a cryptocurrency is going to succeed, it needs money to develop the software.
So Zcash has very strong funding, community, lots of support from a lot of people in the university.
It's one of the few that actually got released from the very beginning, and no one suspected that it was a scam coin or a fraud.
Sure.
Okay, no, this is one of the few that I've seen where it was born without anyone suspecting that it was a scam.
Because we had big name universities behind it. We have credible professors, very credible investors backing the project, right? So from the beginning.
Talk about some of the investors in the VC groups that's backing it up.
Some of the most well-known that we is Fred Ersham. He is a founder or co-founder of Coinbase. Eric Voorhees, he was the founder of Shapeshift, which is a very popular instant exchange. Barry Silbert is a very big investor in the space. He runs Digital Currency Group. Roger Ver, he was from Bitcoin almost from the beginning. He's also known as Bitcoin Jesus, because when Bitcoin was at $1, he was standing on the street corner giving it out to people. One of the funding, in addition to these investors, 20% of the mining rewards are going back to the Zcash community, the developers. So not only do they have all these big name developers who's invested, we don't know the exact amount, but it's in the millions of dollars. 20% of all the new Zcashes being minted are going to this the development community. So they're extremely well funded. Okay. So even if the market cap isn't that high, they got a lot of money.
Yeah. So talk about the team makeup.
Yeah, so like we said, it began at the University of Johns Hopkins University and MIT. Zuko is the founder.
And just in case people don't know, MIT is the most prestigious technology university in America. It's located in the city of Boston, which is in the state of Massachusetts, and that's what it stands for, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And it's about maybe 2-3 hours from the city of New York City.
Yeah. Right now, it's very technology focused. They're not really doing any marketing or trying to get users or get merchants to adopt them or trying to get people to buy drugs with it or anything like that. It's just very focused on the science, the technology to improve the way privacy is done. And the near-term goals is the technology, because it was using very cutting-edge cryptography known as ZK snarks, which we covered in the previous video. Okay. So 2014 is when it began, so it was in development for 2 years before they launched the network. It was to implement zero-knowledge proofs as a way to obfuscate the details of every transaction.
And in case you're new to cryptocurrencies, obfuscate simply means to make unclear, make unintelligent, or unrecognizable. Yes. All right?
So this idea of zero-knowledge proofs, it's the idea that I could prove to you something is true without actually telling you what it is that I'm trying to prove, but you know for the fact that it's true. And
the main thing that they're trying to prove is that, that it was not double spent.
Yes.
Right? Simultaneously at the same time.
Yes.
But the transaction, the financial transaction is private. No one can see where it's coming from, where it's going,
or
how much the quantity is. But at the same time, simultaneously to that, it can prove that it was not double spent, meaning that you didn't copy and paste the same coin and send it to 10 different people.
Yeah. And I haven't seen a good explanation of zero-knowledge proofs to like a common person. How is people may ask, well, how is that possible? How can you prove that without actually telling me anything, right? Yeah. Like I said, this is very cutting edge.
Very advanced math.
Very advanced math is how it is. I don't think there's a really good real-world example of how you can do that. So like we said, academics, cryptographers, researchers, software engineers, it's the biggest group of nerds that in any of these projects right now.
I want to point out from an investor's perspective, guys, just because it's well-funded from individual investors and VC groups, venture capitalist groups, and the network itself also gives the development team money, and they got the smartest people on the planet working on this. that doesn't always necessarily translate to a good investment.
No, it does not.
You know,
It
we
does
still
not.
got to look at the.
I mean, all of this is important,
Yeah.
but it's not a guarantee. This does not mean Zcash is a sure thing.
Yeah,
by,
exactly.
By no means.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that in the upcoming videos, right? So you said that it uses cutting-edge cryptography that's not yet well known and is only understood by a very, very small handful of people.
Very technical people.
Yeah.
Only can actually even explain how this black box works.
Yeah, because in the last video we talked about like there's 3 technologies: the ring signatures, the mixing, and then the zero knowledge proof, the ZK snarks. And you said that there's a lot of people out there in the world that can understand the ring signatures and the mixing technology, but only a small handful of people.
If you're reasonably technical, you have a little bit of technical background, you understand how computers work, or you're like me, you're a software engineer and you actually write code. It's easy to understand ring signatures and mixing. It's mentally easy to understand. I haven't seen a good explanation of how zero knowledge proofs can do that.
Okay.
I don't understand it. But this will change.
Yeah.
As time goes by, as the knowledge will spread, and more people
can verify it.
More people can verify it, and not only more people can verify it, more people can explain it.
Okay.
But at this time, it's very hard to relate to it right now.
So now you say that the downside to this with the Zcash is that it requires trusting the team, the people.
Yeah. So because of this technology, they had to create what seems to me like a bunch of private keys, basically a private key, but then it was split up into multiple pieces where each team member had a piece of the key, right? So no one individual could steal the entire key.
Yeah.
Right, it was generated and then distributed among a group of people, and those pieces were called shards.
Okay.
That's what they called them, and they said that these shards were "quote unquote" toxic waste
because it can hurt the network.
Because it can destroy the network if the pieces came together, and then people could then break this black box and hack it. Right, basically double spend or generate, not even double spend, to generate counterfeit Z coins.
And nobody would even know about it.
And no one would even know it because it's a black box. No one can even see it, right? Yeah. So it does require trust. And they have this thing called a ceremony where they went through, they spent a lot of money. They're very well funded. I think it was $500,000 or more dollars to go through this and to document like what actually happened. Yeah. Okay. But that requires trust because how do you know, like looking at these videos, how do you know they actually did that? Yeah. Right. Or was this just a big show? Right. Yeah. So that's in this blog that they go into details about that. So there's a lot of critics because still
you're not trusting in math, you're trusting in people to do it right.
Yeah, and a big part of cryptocurrencies is you don't have to trust anyone. Yeah. Right. You can just trust the code. And in this case, I would say a major downside is you can't do this. Even by their own admission, you have to trust that they actually destroyed these shards, this toxic waste as they call it. And they put on, there's lots of documentation, there's people vouching for it and very respected people in the community that said that they actually did that. Okay. But like I said, that's still trust. Yeah.
And you said the critics don't like the fact that 20% of the mining rewards, 20% of the new coins that are minted go towards the development team.
Development team, which means it's a central, people will argue that's a centralized coin. It's controlled by this entity, right?
But you and I, from an investor's perspective, we look at it as that's a good thing because they need money to develop the software.
They need money, but there's other ways. This is a governance issue, and we can talk about that. There's many ways to get money without having, without hard coding.
Skim off the top?
Yes, to skim off the top and to like, basically they're hard coding in the software to give, basically it's like, if I'm writing this piece of software and I'm hard coding in the software to pay me. Yeah. Right? Okay. That's
20%.
20% of all the new coins.
Here we have a chart of Shadow Cash in 2016. If you'll notice, Shadow Cash started out down here at the very bottom here, around 25,000 Satoshis. And in 9 months, it grew over 2,000% in profit. So that's 22 times your money. So let's go look at some of the Shadow Cash facts here.
Yeah. So Shadow Cash began as a community project in 2014. There was no investors. There was no ICO. There were no venture capitalists or anything like that. It was a group of guys who came together and decided to start this project. At the moment, there's 6.4 million coins in circulation. Block rewards are about a quarter every minute. There's about 324 SDCs is the symbol for Shadow Cash. And it's about a 2% inflation rate. It's currently trading plus or minus $2. And it's still much smaller than Zcash, Monero, or Dash. But at 14 million, it's notable. It's definitely in the top 30 or so.
What I want to mention, add to that, is that Shadow Cash is not a minor privacy coin, but it's not also a major privacy coin.
Yes.
It's kind of like lingering like right in the middle. If there was such thing, if there was anything between a major and a minor, it'd be like kind of like in between. And that's the reason why we're mentioning here.
Yes.
Right.
It's right now a community-based projects. We don't know of any funding source of it for the moment.
Right. And also want to bring up too that earlier you mentioned about the difference between a feature platform and a platform, a feature privacy coin that focuses on a feature only, or a privacy coin that focuses on a platform.
Yes.
And you'll notice that when you go to their website, they say that it's the Shadow project. Yeah, not just a privacy coin, but a Shadow project.
Sure. And I think we have that in the next slide.
The team members are mostly anonymous at this point. When we did the research into it, when we started the research into the privacy coin bucket, we couldn't find anybody.
They're all handles.
They're all nicknames and handles online. Recently, we found one video. The guy's he claims his name is Rhino, and he's supposed to be the lead developer for the project. And that was the only.
I think he's on social media, like on YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube. There's like a video of him, and he claims he's from South Africa, and that's like the only member that has revealed themselves at this moment, right? So talk about some of the Shadow Cash facts.
So it's notable here because it is a Bitcoin, it was built on top of the Bitcoin code base. What's unusual about it is it uses ring signatures, very, very similar to the way Monero does its privacy. But it's built on top of the Bitcoin code base rather than a new code base that Monero did, which came from Bytecoin and CryptoNote. So you were talking about the platform. It does have their roadmap includes something called a marketplace. Besides just the currency, they also want to build what seems like an eBay at this time, but privacy focused that protects your privacy. Messaging, also encrypted messaging for you to communicate between one another.
So it seems like their roadmap indicates that they're focusing on an entire project where whether you want privacy or not, it's already built into into the system. So you don't even
from the ground up that it's going to be focused on privacy. So it seems like they're going for mass adoption, but for the folks that are concerned about their privacy
in
business, right? So the plan to adopt for how to get people to use it it sounds to me like it's similar to Dash in that way, that they're trying to get everyone to be able to use this. So rather than being, say, a Zcash or Monero that's really focused on one feature at this time, right? It's easily supported and fairly widely traded now because it's derived from Bitcoin. So it's it can take advantage of all the infrastructure
that it's more compatible with the exchanges,
the wallets,
the wallet services, the mining pools.
The mining pools, And it's definitely, like we said, it's a lot smaller than Dash or Monero or Zcash at the moment. It's definitely something that the community, they don't have the funding or the community of any of those three at the moment.
And talk about how some of the technologies, like sometimes investors tend to think that, hey, if it's a big project already, that's the one to go after. But we want the ones that have the potential to grow.
Sure. Absolutely not. Monero sat around where Shadow Cash is right now for over a year. Right, and it was at 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, back to 10 million. back and forth. Market cap, yeah. And then finally it just exploded. And same thing with Dash. Dash just sat between 10 to 50 million for 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years to before it started to run this year. So yeah, it's no guarantee that just because they're big at the moment that they stay big.
Yeah. Okay. So now that's one of the last quote unquote major privacy coins that we're going to cover in some detail. Now we're going to cover some of the minor or the miscellaneous privacy coins. And before I cover that, I want to just define what we consider as an investor to be a miscellaneous or a privacy coin, right? The reasons why we don't go in depth about the miscellaneous privacy coins or the minor privacy coins is that there's such a small market cap, right? It has small trading volume. That means that if we want it so that if someone wants to invest at least one Bitcoin into the privacy coin, they can do it without moving the price of that currency, all right? So a lot of these miscellaneous privacy coins that we're going to run through just really quick, you really cannot even get like a quarter of a...
If you bought one Bitcoin, you'd move the price up 10 or 20% just from your own buying.
And you don't want to do that, okay? The low liquidity, that means that there's not a lot of volume. So if you want to invest 5 or 10 or 20 Bitcoins into it, it's not really possible. So we don't want to go in depth about it and mislead anyone and make them think that this is worth investing in because there's not enough volume. And because it's low liquidity, right? And it's due to because there's limited exchanges that trade it and carry it. And the low liquidity also causes wide spreads. And the spread means that if the difference between what somebody offers it for and what someone is willing to pay for it could be a lot wider than what you want. Okay, so that's the reason why we're just going to fly through this very, very briefly. Okay, the first miscellaneous privacy coin that we want to mention is Bytecoin because it was the original cryptocurrency that implemented the CryptoNote protocol, and it was held back by a perception of an unfair distribution. The community felt that 80% of it was in the hands of a very small group of people, right? It was surpassed by Monero, which forked it and implemented a more transparent distribution and more fair. So that's why Monero had more adoption. So miscellaneous privacy coin number 2 is Zcoin. It's another privacy coin project using the zero knowledge proof to maintain privacy like Zcash, right? So it's a fork or a clone or a copy of it, right? It uses very similar technologies but made different trade-offs compared to Zcash.
Trade-offs such as
right?
not hiding transaction amounts, so that you could account for all the coins to make sure nothing was being counterfeit coins weren't being produced.
Yeah, because one of the concerns that the community has in Zcash is because it's in a black box and not too many people know about it, that there's a potential that a hacker can create counterfeit coins and then introduce it into the network and no one would ever know about it, whereas Zcoin is trying to make it so that it's transparent in the quantity, not where the sender or the receiver is, but the quantity of coins that's in the network so that everyone can check it, right? So miscellaneous privacy coin number 3 is Komodo. It's also another fork of Zcash and is looking to develop a decentralized trading platform and uses a delayed proof of work, right? And you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah. So it's just a technical feature where it can allow to use, I believe the idea is so that it can use Bitcoin's security because Bitcoin has the most amount of hashing and miners with it, and then leverage that to secure its own network. Okay. That's what they're trying to do here. Okay. The reason it's notable here is, or that we mention it here, is because they recently raised quite a good amount of funding. You know,
it's 2,600 Bitcoins.
That's $2.6 million in funding, which is
it's adequate to get the project going.
Yeah, it's adequate to get the project going, yeah.
Okay, so miscellaneous privacy coin number 4 is Navcoin. Nav, I found out, while we were making this, right, stands for Navajo coin, which Navajo is a Native American tribe in America, Indian tribe. They were the indigenous people that were here before the Europeans came. And they're attempting to do mixing with masternodes, similar to Dash, but with different technology. Yeah. Okay.
And they don't call it masternodes; they call it something else. But the idea is that these nodes do the privacy, do the mixing. Okay. And the way they do it is interesting. Okay.
So miscellaneous privacy coin number 5 is Bullberry, right? Bullberry sounds more like a fashion name than it does a privacy coin name, okay? But it's another CryptoNote coin right, based on the CryptoNote technology, uses their own proof of work algorithm, and they have pruning to optimize the blockchain size. You want to just take a
yeah. So a lot of these projects, the problem is the bloat, right?
Yeah.
Like Bitcoin's blockchain is over 100 gigabytes. If no one's running a full node now because it's just going to eat up your entire computer space.
Yeah.
Unless you're a miner, you have some reason to. So that they like I said, these miscellaneous, they're focusing on like features. They're taking an existing project and trying to improve it.
Yeah.
And trying to do things that they think are valuable.
Okay. So, all right. So let's quickly summarize what we covered in this video here. There are two types of cryptocurrencies: ones that come from Bitcoin and ones that come from CryptoNote. There are 4 major privacy projects out on the market right now that is worth looking at. That's Dash, that's Monero, and there's Zcash and Shadowcash. And we mentioned that Shadowcash is not a big player or a major player like the other 3, but it appears that they're on the verge of it, right? Each project has a unique story behind it. There are dozens of privacy coin projects currently on the market. The focus on the major privacy coins, or the soon-to-be major privacy coins, such as the Shadowcash project here, right? There's minor privacy coins are too small or insignificant right now. At the moment, there's just not enough trading volume. One of the main criteria we look at before we consider investing into a cryptocurrency or a privacy coin is that you should be able to buy at least 1 Bitcoin of it without moving the price of it. And that way, everyone around the world can benefit from it. If we talk about a cryptocurrency where you can only buy 1 or 2 tokens or a fraction of a Bitcoin, then it doesn't apply to all our audience. Okay, so we want to make sure that we talk about things that our audience can look at and invest in without safely.
And also, we don't want to manipulate the market either, because if we talk about it and there's so little liquidity and a bunch of you guys go and buy it,
then it makes us look bad.
It makes us look bad because
we
have no intention of pumping everything. But if we talk about it more, then people are going to even if we say don't buy it, some people are going to do that, and that's going to affect the market.
Okay, so I want to give you guys a quick teaser of what's upcoming in the next video. In the next video, in the first video, we made the case, and the argument for why privacy is important. In the second video, right, we made we explained the technology behind it, right? And now we made an investment case, right, for why you might want to consider investing into privacy coins and look at the privacy coin bucket. And now in the upcoming video, we're going to do a fundamental analysis of the major privacy coins and what's behind it. And then that's what you'll do. And then I'll do a technical analysis of the major privacy coins and what we can project out, what the potential profit targets and projections for the major privacy coins are, and what we can expect the price to reach to, or do our best of doing it, So thanks for watching these series of videos, guys. And we'll look forward to, seeing you guys again in the next video. If you have friends, families, or colleagues or coworkers that are interested in creating life-changing profits in cryptocurrency investing, make sure that you guys share this video with them. And if you have friends or family or anyone that are interested in looking at the privacy coin bucket of cryptocurrencies, make sure you share this video with them as well. So thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you guys in the next video.